which gives us a light about something different from biochemical assessment of ovarian reserve. Now, what does it look at? It looks at the association between AMH and follicle density. Now, we do know that AMH is secreted by granular cells, and 60% of AMH originates from 5 to 8 millimeter size follicles. AMH stabilizes and then starts decreasing from 24 years of age and is used as a proxy for ovarian reserve. So what did the study look at? It looked at 20 infertile women with decreased ovarian reserves, and these were recruited between 2016 and 2018 with an AMH of less than 5 pmol per liter. 100 were controls. There was one outlier, and a total of 119 women were assessed. Now, there were 20 women who had decreased reserves, so that came out to 19. And in addition to AMH, they took 4 biopsies were taken from the ovary of women with low reserve, and which was 5 into 5 into 3 millimeter, and a fertility preservation group, one of them of 5 into 5 by 2 millimeter was donated to research. And what you're looking at is that what happens to ovarian reserve in comparison to follicular density, and there was clearly a decline. Surprisingly, if you look at the decline, it was 1.8 follicles per cubic millimeter in those with a low AMH, compared to 7 follicles per cubic millimeter with those with a normal AMH. So what it shows is that as the AMH declines, the non-growing follicles, which this biopsy would give you an idea about, also started declining. So when they pooled this data, it was that AMH and follicle density correlated, and the follicle density increased by 6% per increase in AMH by 1 pmol. Kelsey also found a recruitment delay occurred with the remaining follicles as the AMH declined. So it basically means that as a woman ages, there was a lower rate of recruitment. Another concept is that as the AMH declines, there's more and more follicles being generated. Now, in my personal opinion, I think both these things happen. In the initial part of aging is that the declines, that's the long-term reserve declines, and that releases more follicles into the antral zone. And that's why you see some women with a lower AMH with a good antral follicle count. Eventually that stabilizes and the ovary starts getting prepared for a later event, and that's preparing for menopause, where the AMH and antral follicle both decline. Now, what this paper also looked at, it looks at age being the most important factor of follicular density. And here they give an example of a 25-year-old woman with AMH 16 to 20, and the follicle density was 63 per cubic millimeter follicles. And this was compared to a 10-year-old woman with a similar AMH, remember that, and the follicular density had reduced to 9.5 follicles per cubic millimeter. That's almost a 7-fold reduction has happened. And that's huge, which means even with a normal AMH, there is an unseen decline that occurs to the long-term reserve of follicles. The effect seen by Hansen was that 81% reduction was seen with age. And what this suggests is that women with a low ovarian reserve recruit a larger number of primordial follicles. So as the reserve goes down, you're going to pull up the pool of follicles which are primordial in terms of percentage. And this is probably because of a higher FSH, where the ovary is desperately trying to maintain its ovarian function. So it's going into the last bit of primordial follicles. So sometimes this also can be explained by that overworking by FSH, you start seeing larger follicles. This study does not look at the rate of follicular decline, and one of the deficiencies could be that it took one biopsy where there could be varying levels of change. Now, in summary, we would say that as the AMH declines, follicle density also declines, and age plays a huge part. Now, the AMH, to some extent, gives us an idea about. It is a proxy marker of ovarian reserve, but remember, it's not the only marker. Even with a normal good AMH, age tells us that follicle density is going to decline. Thank you for watching this talk, and those of you who are joining in July 23rd and 24th, it will be a fantastic time to discuss all these concepts.